Ever wonder why one country is just amazing at a certain industry, while another one can't seem to keep up? It's a question that really shapes our entire world. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and uncover the hidden blueprint that actually determines national economic success.
I mean, think about it. We all kind of know that Germany is a world leader in high-precision machine tools, right? And that the US completely dominates software. So is that just luck, a random roll of the dice? Well, the short answer is a big no. And trust me, the real reason is way more fascinating than you might think.
Okay, so to get to the bottom of this, we've got to realize we're looking at a puzzle. And the very first clue, the world economy isn't random at all. Nope. It's actually packed with these really clear, predictable patterns.
Yeah, it turns out there's a real order to all this. The global market isn't just some crazy free-for-all where, anyone can win on any given day. The leaders in technology and innovation, they tend to stay leaders. And the countries lagging behind often find it really hard to catch up. These patterns, they're super stable and they last for a really long time.
So let's zoom in and see what that pattern actually looks like. The key thing to get is that different countries have these really deep, long-lasting differences in how they do things. And you see it everywhere, from a company's technical skills to how it's organized and how fast it innovates. And listen, these aren't just little quirks. They're huge structural differences that have a massive impact on a country's economic future.
Okay, so it's super tempting to just grab onto the easy explanations for these patterns, right? But the real answers, they're buried way deeper than the usual stuff you hear. The old school thinking was that it's all about natural resources. Yeah, sure, Costa Rica has tons of sun, which is great for its agriculture. But that doesn't explain Silicon Valley, does it? Or why Germany makes the best cars in the world. The deeper truth, the thing that really matters now, is that success is all about how good a country is at creating, soaking up, and actually using new knowledge. So, this brings up a huge question, right? If one way of doing things is obviously better for a certain industry, why doesn't everybody else just copy it? I mean, why don't we all just end up with the one single best way to run an economy? The answer to that is the key that unlocks this whole mystery.
All right, you ready for the big reveal? It all boils down to this one really powerful idea that just ties everything together. And it's called the National System of Innovation. Okay, so this is the absolute core of it. A national innovation system isn't some single thing you can point to. No, it's the whole ecosystem, this whole web of connections between universities, the financial markets, labor laws, company R&D labs, even, cultural attitudes. All of that stuff together is what shapes how a country learns and comes up with new ideas. There's a great quote from the economist Francois Chesney, who said it's all about the arrangements and linkages. See, it's not enough to just have great universities over here and brilliant companies over there, all acting on their own. It's all about how they connect, how they talk to each other, how they collaborate, and how they build on each other's work. That's what really makes the magic happen.
So, just to be super clear here, this is not a story about some lone genius tinkering in a garage or one rockstar company that changes everything. No, it's a story about ecosystems. Think of it like this. Innovation is a team sport, and how well any single player does depends completely on the quality of the team and the field they're all playing on.
Okay, so what does one of these systems actually look like, in the real world? To make this really concrete, let's look at it through 4 different but connected lenses. So we can break down a country's system by looking at it in these 4 ways. First, we can look at its big institutions, like university research programs. Then we can zoom right in on that super important feedback loop between the people who make stuff and the people who use it. We can also focus on the big powerhouse national companies that are really driving the innovation. And finally, we can check out how their money and labor markets are set up. Each one of these gives you a totally unique piece of the puzzle. And this chart, it's a fantastic way to see just how different these systems can be in practice. So you've got the US, right? Its system is fueled by these massive research universities, a really dynamic venture capital scene that's always betting on crazy new ideas, and a workforce that moves around a lot. Then you have Germany. It builds its strength on incredible technical apprenticeships, really stable long-term financing from banks, and a labor market that's all about stability and building deep, deep expertise inside companies. And here's the absolute kicker. Neither one of these systems is better than the other. They're just different. They're like different kinds of engines, built to do different things.
And that's why the US is so good at disruptive, high-risk stuff like software, while Germany completely owns the world of precise, step-by-step engineering. This gets at what experts call social embeddedness. And here's a good way to think about it. A company is kind of like a plant. You can't really understand the plant unless you understand the soil it's in, the climate, the water. Well, it's the exact same for a company. It's a product of its national environment. How it finds money, the people it hires, the way it competes, all of that is totally shaped by the system it grew up in. Okay, so why does any of this really matter? Well, because figuring this stuff out isn't just some boring academic thing. It has huge, real-world impacts on economic growth, on jobs, on how well a country does. And sometimes it can show us a really fascinating paradox. Okay, for example, let's look at what's called the European paradox. For a long time now, Europe has been producing just amazing science. We're talking top-tier research papers, tons of patents. But there's this well-known weakness in the system when it comes to actually translating all of that incredible knowledge into new companies, into real economic growth, and into jobs. It basically points to some kind of friction, a disconnect somewhere in those all-important linkages within their innovation systems. And this is where it gets really juicy, because it brings us to this fundamental debate about how you actually create prosperity. The old school way of thinking is what you might call the blood, sweat, and tears approach. The idea that you have to cut wages and slash costs to compete. But this whole innovation system idea, it sees things in a completely different light. It sees growth as a positive-sum game. It's not about a race to the bottom. It's about investing in learning and building a powerful system that can turn knowledge into prosperity that hopefully benefits everyone. So that leaves us with one last and really crucial thought to chew on. These systems we've been talking about, they're not static. They aren't carved in stone. As technology and the whole world economy keeps changing, the real challenge for every country is to consciously design and nurture and constantly improve its own innovation system. So the question for all of us is, what does the right system look like for building the prosperity of tomorrow? Thanks for joining me.